Are you secretly paying a city tax every time you charge your EV? The clock, not the charger, decides how much you pay. Today we're digging into the ugly truth behind the public charging bills, time of use rates, peak demand charges, and local grid congestion. I'll show you the exact hours to avoid the math that decides what you pay and the sweet spot you can use every day to cut charging prices. By the end, you'll be able to pick the cheapest hours to charge, understand why charges in the downtown areas cost more per kilowatt hour, and plan your commute like a utility level strategies. And there is a free PDF link in the description. You can download it and get more information on this topic. Electricity prices aren't flat. Utilities use time of use pricing to charge more when demand is high and less when it's low. For example, Toronto Hydro's winter TOU schedule sets off-peak at 9.8 cents per kilowatt hour on overnight and weekends, mid-peak at 15.7 cents per kilowatt hour, and on-peak at 20.3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's a 2 times gap between the cheapest and the most expensive hours. If you charge during on-peak instead of off-peak, you can roughly double the energy costs for the same kilowatt hour. In the US, big utilities like PG&E structure time of use differently. For residential EV plants, peak is typically late afternoon to evening, commonly 4 to 9 p.m., and off-peak hours are overnight. The timing matters more than memorizing a number. Avoid the 4 to 9 p.m. window in many service areas. Public charger bills layers extra complexity on top of time of use. Many operators add fixed session fees, per minute idle fees, and in particular demand charges, a utility fee based on the maximum power drawn during a billing period. Demand charges can dramatically raise the per kilowatt hour price of fast chargers because a public DC fast charger draws massive power in short bursts. The station owner pays for the peak and passes it to you. That's why DC fast charging at a highway stop can be like 40 cents to 70 cents per kilowatt hour or higher, while your home off-peak rate is cent per kilowatt hour lower. Grid congestion and low localization pricing make things even trickier. When transmission lines or substations near downtown are congested, the marginal cost of supplying that extra kilowatt rises. Grid operators reflect this with locational marginal pricing and congestion costs, which can push local wholesale prices up and show up in retail pricing. In plain terms, two chargers selling the same kilowatt hour can cost very different amounts if one in a congested city center and other is in the rural node with abundant cheap generation. Reports show congestion costs are now a multi-billion-dollar reality. They matter for the final price you see at the charger. All of this creates a gap between how cheap EVs can be to run on paper and what you actually pay when you plug in. The challenge for drivers is visibility and timing. Most people don't know the local time of use windows. They don't see real-time congestion signals, and public chargers often hide demand surcharges behind a single per kilowatt hour price. That leads to bad behavior. People charge during convenience windows, meaning after work, which increases peak demand, which raises costs for everyone, a feedback loop that makes public charging more expensive over and over. Here's the practical part. Where should you charge to save money and avoid feeding peak demand? The universal sweet spot is simple and actionable. Charge overnight during off-peak hours or during local low-demand windows, and avoid the late afternoon or early evening peaks. Here's the concrete numbers and quick example. Using Toronto Hydro winter time of use as a real case, off-peak rates is around 9.8 cents per kilowatt hour, on-peak rates is around 20.3 cents per kilowatt hour. If you charge a 60 kilowatt hour battery completely, here's the digit by digit math for cost difference. Off-peak hours, it is like $5.88. On-peak is around $12.18. The difference is $6.30 saved per full charge by using off-peak hours. Now let's use a daily commute example. Assume you need 10 kilowatt hour per day to cover commute and errands. That's roughly 30 to 40 miles depending on vehicle efficiency. Charging those 10 kilowatt hour overnight costs is around 98 cents per day in off-peak. In on-peak, it's around 2.3 cents. $2.03. The daily saving is around $1.05. It's going to be around $383 per year. By shifting a modest 10 kilowatt hour daily load to overnight off-peak charging, show the math to yourself. It's going to be $383 gained in a year. Those small wins compound fast. Those savings are the care of the sweet spot strategy. Know your local off-peak window, set your car to delay charging until that window, and avoid charging right after work when utilities and charger bills at peak rates. For PG style plans, that usually means charging between midnight and early morning instead of 4 to 9 p.m. Practical tip to use the sweet spot every day is to set your EV charging schedule to start only during off-peak hours. Most cars and smart EVSs let you set a delayed start. Use vehicle preconditioning while plugged in, not driving. So cabin heat doesn't drain your battery and push you to charge during peak times. Combine charging with household flexibility, like running the dishwashers or HVAC shifts to smooth your household load into off-peak windows and avoid demand spikes. If you rely on public chargers, look for chargers that display real-time pricing and avoid stations that tack on per minute start fees during busy hours. The impact of demand charges and grid congestion. Demand charges are billed to the station operator based on the highest power draw in a billing period. If a station has a single 150 kilowatt charger that hits full power repeatedly, the station demands charges will be huge. Operators cover that cost by inflating per kilowatt hour prices or adding high session fees. That's why DC fast charging in public places often costs 30 cents to 70 cents per kilowatt hour or more. The operator is buying insurance against those demand fees. If you want cheaper fast charging, look for stations with energy storage, batteries, or local solar that shave peaks and lower demand charges. Grid congestion raises local wholesale prices through localization, marginal pricing, and congestion costs. If a big city node is congested, cheaper distant generation can't be used and the next more expensive generator must be dispatched. That higher marginal cost shows up in congestion charges and can ripple into retail prices or operator decisions about when to open lower price charging. Studies and market reports show congestion is a growing component of system cost, meaning urban charging will stay pricier unless grid upgrades happen. So, how to future-proof your wallet as a grid pricing evolves? We're heading into time of smart grids and smarter pricing. Expect more dynamic pricing pilots, more time of use granularity, and more location-based signals. Utilities and charging networks are experimenting with real-time or hourly pricing to reflect actual grid stress, manage charging programs that pay you to delay charging during peaks, charger sites adding batteries to avoid demand charges and pass savings to drivers. So what to do now to future-proof your wallet? Adapt smart charging, use a smart EVSE, and opt into utility programs that automatically schedule charging in low price windows. These programs sometimes pay you to participate, actually. You can look for chargers with energy storage or on-site solar. They often offer low prices during peak hours because they buffer demand. If you live in a condo or apartment, push property managers to install managed chargers that can stagger charging and avoid building level demand spikes. That reduces building charges and keeps individual prices low. Track rollout news from local ISO or utility where congestion upgrades are planned. Prices may improve in coming years, and reports show congestion costs remain a big line item. The headline was simple: timing and location decide your charging bill. Off-peak overnight charging is the sweet spot for daily commuters. We showed the math: a small 10 kilowatt-hour habit shift can save about $383 a year under the Toronto example. Public charging costs include demand charges and congestion premiums, which explains why identical kilowatt-hours cost more in busy cities. To protect your wallet, use scheduled overnight charging, favor chargers with energy storage or solar, join managed charging programs, and press for smarter infrastructure in shared buildings. If you want to go deeper in this and want to learn more about the time of use prices, you can download a free PDF. Link is in the description. Thank you.